Hi, everybody, and welcome again here to my second part of my YouTube channel. This time I'm interviewing beautiful Matt Denton. He got an amazing story. God, has he gone through a lot. Well, we all have, as he said, we all gone through our old stories, our old up and downs. It's not what's happened to us it's easy to say, but as he said, it's not what happened to us, it's how we deal with it. Anyway, I'm sitting here in my van, here in my little diva van, and this is what I do. So this recording is a little bit different from the first one. I recorded Matt only, so you're just going to see his face and you're going to hear my voice. As you know, I am a newbie in this. So if you'd like to follow my journey around Australia in my little diva van, please do so. Because I don't know where I'm going to go. Might be gone for a week, a month, 10 years, I don't know. Anyway, I do my little things little here and there. And I am so passionate about people's stories and people's passion. So this channel is for you if you like to hear real people, their stories, and also see it pretty much as it is. This is me. What you see is what you get. And I will edit some part of it, but try to keep everything as it was because that's who you are. Anyway, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and more is coming. All right, listeners, we are here again on Casey Radio 97.7 FM and with the Diva Show. This week I have Matt on the show, and Matt and I haven't seen each other for probably 10 years, 8 years, or something like that. But it's never hurts to keep in contact. But so, Matt, I'm so excited for you to share your story with the listeners. But first, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christine. A joy to be here.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. So tell me, who are you, Matt?
Well, that's a fascinating story. So I'm Matt, and I came from a farming background in country Western Australia, and then I've had the privilege of doing lots of things across Australia in senior corporate roles, and I'm a person that lives with passion and lives with resilience.
Oh, that's good. So you were born in the country?
Yeah, country Western
Yeah.
Australia, a little
Yeah.
country town called Noangra.
All right. So
Yeah.
your parents was farmers?
Yes, so we were share farmers, and then they had farming contracting businesses as well. So they had fencing contracting and spraying contracting and all the things that happen in that agricultural world. So we
Yeah.
did all those sorts of things, and then I had my mum came home one day and said to my middle brother, said, "I've got you a job at the local co-op," which was the farmers co-op in those days. And
Yeah.
he said, "I don't want to do that." And I was 12 years old, and I said, "Well, I'll do it." And so that basically started my career in agriculture.
Oh, wow. So tell me though, so do you know how to shear a sheep?
Yes, but I don't shear many in a day if I was to do it. I think I shear one a day compared to someone that shears 100. So,
Oh,
but
yeah,
yes,
I
yes,
know.
my dad did teach me how to do it.
Oh, wow. Was he a good man to do that? Was he
Yeah,
fast?
yeah, he was a very good shearer. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he was a hard worker and a very good shearer, and taught us to do it. And very quickly, I worked out that if you're going to do that level of labour and break your back, there has to be better business opportunities and things in life than doing that. But they're making huge money now.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's a prize for it as well. So,
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah, yeah. So tell me though, growing up in the country like that, what was it? What was the best memories that you have?
I think the best memories that I have of the country, and it's quite interesting because I've kind of gone back to my agricultural roots now. And to me, the best memories of the country was the freedom and the companionship, and everything was pretty casual. It wasn't looking at Facebook every 10 minutes. Matter of fact, I can still today remember the phone numbers, and I can remember people plugging the phone in to say, "Can we be put through to such and such?" And in the local co-op, they actually had the switchboard that they would unplug the thing and plug it in. And I know
Oh, yes.
I'm not that old. I'm not that old, but it took a long time to get the main phones through to our country town.
Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah,
so if you look back to, did you have sisters and brothers or?
I have got two elder brothers. Yes, I'm the youngest
Mm.
of three. Yeah, so yeah, I've
Oh,
got Wesley, my middle brother, and Nelson, my eldest brother. And yeah, Nelson, my eldest, was he actually developed to be one of the best harvester mechanics in Australia, and
oh,
then had an
wow.
industrial accident and got all fingers cut off both hands. So he had a bit of a life-changing experience. And
Oh, gosh.
my middle brother is in IT, so they're both in Perth now in Western Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, what do you think was the best advice that you got from your parents when you grow up that you took with you in life?
I think there's been a lot of it, but it's always I think I learned resilience. Was fortunate enough to be brought up in a rather underprivileged family, which I think's helped me a lot in life. And we didn't have a lot of money, but we always had a lot of love. And I think that's what lacks a bit in society today. So there was lots of laughter, there was lots of sport, there was lots of fun, there was all of those things. And I think that's really, really important. And so I had a very, what I would call positive upbringing, surrounded by people that were full of laughter and fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, what else do you think is the good thing to grow up in the country? And also tell me, when you first moved into the city, what happened there when you got to the city?
Yeah, well, I'll stay in the country for a little bit longer. So I think one of the beauties that I had in the country is the fact that you know people. There's an openness, there's an honesty, and there's kind of a comradeship and a mateship that. And I'll give you an example of moving into a city from a country as I went up my corporate career in a second.
Yeah.
Um, so I think growing up in the country, you really learn to appreciate life and nature, and you have space. So you have an understanding of space.
Hmm.
And so an example was, fast forward a few years, and I got transferred to Melbourne. And I remember I had an apartment on South Bank in Melbourne that I was about to move into. And I said to my wife at the time, I said, this is going to be so exciting. I said, this is going to be like Beverly Hills 90210. There's hundreds of people living here, and we're going to all be friends, and we'll have we'll have these wonderful dinner parties and everything. And the very first day I got in the lift, there was about 6 people in the lift. And I introduced myself to all 6, and they
Yeah.
thought I was a maniac. Everyone just was like shocked that someone would introduce themselves. And I think we were in that apartment for about a year and a half, and over that whole time, there was probably 2 or 3 people that came to dinner. The rest just always hit. It was just a
Oh.
very different culture, and so people were very untrustworthy. Whereas in the country, they were very much. It was all about fellowship and having people in. One's
Hmm.
not right or wrong; it's just different.
Yeah, that's right.
Just
Yeah,
different.
that's right. So, how long
Yeah.
did you stay in Melbourne for?
I was in Melbourne for nearly 15 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, and loved it. So yeah, I loved the country. I loved the city. I remember someone told me a story once. They said they were talking to someone, and he said, I need a promotion at work. I want to go to another town. And he said, I'm really interested to know what that town's like. And his boss said to him, he said, well, what's the town like where you're currently living in? He said, oh, I don't really like it. He said, the people are tough. He said, it's a hard environment. He said, they're hard to get on with. And he said, yeah. He said, I know. He said, life's a bit like that. The next town's going to be exactly the same. Anyway, one of his other staff came up to him and said, oh, he said, I'm really, you've got this promotion for me, and you want to relocate me to another town. And I'm kind of curious. I've never lived in a town like that. And he said, I'm kind of, what's it like? And his boss said to him, he said, well, what's the town like that you currently live in? He said, oh, it's magnificent. He said, the people are beautiful. He said, they're engaging. The community's fantastic. And he said, well, you're really fortunate. He said, when you go to the next town, it's going to be exactly the same. And so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
about mindset, isn't it? It's about mindset. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. Matt is sharing a little bit of his story living in the country. You know, one thing that I think is amazing traveling in a van and being in the country a lot is that you don't have to leave you leave the keys in the car in the country. You're not so suspicious to everybody, and it's more relaxed, which I think
Yeah.
is good. So tell me, so you were in Melbourne for quite a few years, and what happened then?
So I was in Melbourne with a corporation whose head office was in Adelaide, South Australia.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so they asked me to come over to Adelaide and run Australia for that organisation. Um, and it was sizable. We had turnover of about 1.2 billion. I had 1,200 staff. And
Wow.
so I moved to Adelaide. And again, I'd only ever visited Adelaide. And when I moved here, I absolutely fell in love with it. It's a beautiful city, but maybe I was like the story we were talking about before. I love Melbourne. I love the country, and I think it is about what you make of it. So I came to Adelaide for 3 years. That was nearly 20 years ago, and I'm still here and still loving it.
Oh, that's good. I know
Yeah.
you have had success in your life, and so tell me though, on the way, did you have someone that you looked up to, or somebody not you holding your hand really, but some sort of a mentor or support on the way?
Yeah, I think well, definitely my parents and my father early on. And my mother was very strong in helping me career wise. And then as I got higher up in the corporate career, there was people that I didn't realize at the time, but there's people that put faith in you and people that see potential in you when you don't necessarily see it in yourself. You just think this is just normal. And
Mm.
I was fortunate enough to have one manager who just continued to promote me, and I could never quite work it out. And I realized that it was sink or swim now on reflection. And I was just fortunate enough that I managed to keep swimming, not sinking. And he in retrospect had a huge impact on my life.
Mm.
And yeah, I've got a lot of stories about that individual. One of the stories I'll share is
Mm.
that in about 1997 when I was actually living in Melbourne at the time. So this guy was running, he was the head of a major corporation. Um, and I got cancer and had got quite ill as a result of that. And so this person was looking after a group of probably 3,500 staff. There was 350 stores across Australia. And when I came out of hospital, I remember him ringing me up and saying, "Oh, Matt, what are you doing today?" And "Oh, well, Jack, I'm in bed. I can't get out of bed." And he said, "That's all right." And he was based in Adelaide at the time. Adelaide was the head office. And he said, "Well, I'd like to come over and just hang out." And I said, "Well, okay, you come over and hang out." So he flew over to Melbourne and came to my apartment and fundamentally spent 2 days there. And to me, again, at the time, I didn't really realize it. Never answered a phone call, never did a thing. Just said, do you want me to go and get you a coffee? Do you want me to do anything? And so here's a guy that was head of a major corporation. One of his staff, at the time I was just state manager, which was kind of almost insignificant,
Yeah.
had put aside 2 days. So yeah, very, very much about people. And so he had a huge impact
Mm.
on my life. So my parents, Jack, and then I was also fortunate enough to have another person as well that I don't actually call mentors. They're more like confidants and coaches is
Yeah.
how I refer to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think it's the difference though between a mentor and a coach?
I think a coach is helping you in a development phase. A mentor is often helping you to handle, maybe get to the cockpit rather than be in so sort of look at it from 30,000 feet rather than
Mm.
be overwhelmed by all the knobs in the cockpit, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
probably rephrase that a bit. So to me, a mentor is helping you address issues or challenges, whereas a coach is actually coaching you how to actually learn and prevent it and stop it going forward and develop you as a person. That's my personal view on it. Don't know whether
Oh,
it's right
that's a
or
good
wrong.
one.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So do you think it's very important to have some sort of a coach when you want to achieve something?
Well, interestingly, I never looked for them. I've never actually gone and looked for them, but um, maybe by just understanding what your development opportunities are, um, you actually have a natural propensity to go and find people that fill that void.
Mm,
So from my perspective, it's always been something that's a bit like when the pupil's ready, the teacher arrives. So I've never deliberately gone and got a coach or a mentor, but
yeah.
I've had coaches and mentors on reflection my whole working life.
Mm.
Yes.
So what do you reckon if people are listening and they thinking, oh yeah, that coach thing or mentor thing sounds really good and they don't have one. How can you get one?
Well, I think in a lot of people's network, you would actually find people that have skill sets that maybe you're lacking in a little bit or that you just haven't plainly had experience in.
Mm,
So I don't think it has to be something you have to go and look for and do all that, but you have to be conscious of it. It's a bit like goal setting, isn't it? If you don't write it down, how do you ever know when you arrive at it?
yes,
And
that's
so
right.
and so to me, it's really about finding people you're comfortable with and spending time with them, but also being prepared to have an open and frank discussion with them around what's troubling you or issues that you've got. I think it's critical. Like if
Mm,
I just feel I've been really, really fortunate that um, you're probably aware of a thing called the reticular activating system in your brain, which is like when you buy a red car, you see a red car everywhere.
yeah.
And I've been really fortunate that I learned that at a very young age that when if I'm looking for something, if I write it down and I want it and I'm conscious of it, then all of a sudden it makes a bit more sense who they are. I think you have to
Mm,
go looking for it, but you don't have to go looking for it to pay for it, if that makes sense.
mm, mm.
It's often in your own network.
Oh, that's true. Because I think usually we got bigger network than we think if we sit down and think about it. Who do we
Yeah.
know and who do we associate with and so on. As I said, I know you've done a lot of things in your life and you've been very successful. You are successful. But did you have any big hurdles on the way? And if you did, how did you overcome it?
Um, I don't know where to start on hurdles. Hurdles are. I think if you're setting out in life, everyone has hurdles, and it doesn't matter who you talk to. They've all got stories of them. I've got some that would make people's hair stand up, and I think all of that is just something that helps make you who you are. Um, I said to I said to someone the other day, when I got brought up at about 16, I was separated from my family and had to go and live in a caravan because I was a naughty boy. And so there was all of these things that make you grow up that at the time were really challenging.
Mm,
And people say to me, things happen for a reason. But yeah, I've had numerous. So um, yeah, I was separated from my parents at 16 for misbehaving, and um, I got my first promotion for punching my boss out, which I don't recommend to anyone, but that's kind of how it happened. Um, I I was fortunate enough to just continue to perform in different arenas, and I took all of that in my stride. As I said, I then um, went through a quite a significant cancer scare in my life that was severe enough that I got my crisis care paid out. And so I resigned from all my work because I had funds to be able to do that. And then my wife left me and took those funds. And so I went back to ground zero again. So that's quite humbling. And then I moved to Adelaide, and then I was rather unfortunate that I flew back to Melbourne for a meeting one day, and was walking back along South Bank and saw these people getting into a fight. I went to break the fight up, and it was actually someone murdering someone. So I had to try and save this young kid in my arms who died in my arms. And so there's been lots and lots of things that, to me, on reflection, just happen. And that's some of the things in life. Then remarried, then I got divorced again. So I got good at that. And then business challenges. You know, not everything's always rosy in business. I left the corporate life in about 2010, right when the kind of GFC was in the midst of it. So I left a very, very comfortable role, and had a few years of quite incredible success in a consulting business, and then had some bad debts and things that went against me there. So yeah, there's always, I think everyone's got that. I could go on and on, but it's not about what happens to you. It's about how you react to those things. And I feel that sometimes people are looking for an easy path, and it's not always easy. It's all about learning. I mean, if you've ever seen an elite athlete win a gold medal without, absolutely busting themselves in training, it just doesn't happen. So
yeah, no, it's true.
So to me, if I look at society today, one of the biggest things that I work with youth a little bit, and different people now as a coach or mentor that we talked about before. It's about resilience. It's understanding that the script doesn't work as you expect it to work, but it just is. It is what it is, and it's about your reaction to it. And so that, to me, I'm happier than I've ever been. I've gone through all of those challenges, and I'm sure your listeners have had their own journey and gone through different things. But it's really about what defines us as people. And to me, it's all about a learning journey that then enables you to talk to someone else that's going through something, that you can actually coach them with that and help them with it. So that's the important part for me.
So how do you think you can build up your resilience?
Well, I hate to say it, but you build your resilience by actually going through it. And when you're in it, I said to someone the other day, I said, there's a absolutely classic song that to me sums everything up, and that is that there's always laughter after pain, there's always sunshine after rain. And I think that's really, really critical to understand that every storm passes. And so when you're in the eye of the storm, things are calm, but it doesn't always mean you're through it. Encourage your listeners that no matter what situation they're in, it will pass. It does pass. And then when you can look back on it and reflect on it, there's normally some absolutely magnificent learnings in it that at the time you just have no idea that they're there. And so you can never get through that while you're in the storm. But once you're through it, you'll actually realise that's what builds resilience. And then you'll be able to help others that are going through a similar path.
It's true, because you can relate to people in a different way.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're all people, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, hopefully. That's right. Yeah, that's right. It's a hard word to say, that one, resilience, but I think I got it. So tell me, Matt, what do you do today?
So I'm currently really exciting. So I'm back in the agricultural space, having bounced out and run furniture businesses and consulting companies and all sorts of things. So I'm back in the agricultural space, and really excited that I work today, I've got a company in the biological nutrition market. So we're working with farmers and distributors all across Australia and helping people carbon farm, which is absolutely quite a novel new idea. So so we enable farmers across Australia to actually build soil carbon, so sequester carbon in the soil, so taking greenhouse gas and carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere and putting it back into soil, and using that as part of the whole offset of emissions, and also creating a greener environment. So that's what occupies my days now across
Well,
Australia.
So how did you get into that?
It actually started through my consulting company. So someone rang me up and said there's a company that's looking for someone to come on their board. And they'd actually been working in building soil carbon, but only from a production and sustainability perspective. They've been established for about 25 years. And they didn't understand at the time that there was going to be a carbon trading market, and that the net zero and the 2050 and all those targets and the Paris Agreement were coming in. And so I started to work with them, and we were part of working with the government and the Clean Energy Regulator and the Emissions Reduction Fund in Australia to help set the methodology up for farmers around Australia to be able to start carbon farming.
So is it? I'm thinking like not everybody's might not understand that carbon. Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more what it actually means?
Yeah, sure. So remember back when you were going through school and the science teacher talked to us all about photosynthesis, and it was about a plant grows by taking sunlight and carbon dioxide and turning that into sugars in the plant. And so that's real and live. And so what happens is we actually help farmers maximize the growth of their crops, so growth crops and pasture and etc. And so in doing so, they're pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and through the process of the plant growing and photosynthesis, this carbon dioxide goes through the plant and into the root system, which is what they call root exudates, and actually deposits it in the soil. So we're taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere through a plant, and we're putting that into the soil and increasing yield, building sustainability, but also building a greener planet, and aligning that with the Clean Energy Regulator's methodology of building carbon. So the farmer gets a better crop, and they also get paid a return on the carbon that's stored in the soil. And we have mechanisms that help build all of that. So we soil test and do all sorts of things to actually enable that.
Wow, it sounds like a lot of research.
A lot of research. So there's been years and years on it. But to the government's credit, in 2021 they came up with a soil carbon methodology that we now have set up right across Australia, and enabling farmers to do that. So again, I get the joy of working in regional communities, building profitability, building profitable crops, and building a new income stream. I think it's the biggest disruptive shift I've seen in agriculture in all of my years in it.
Wow. So you're living in a city, but you're still back in the country. It sounds pretty good to me.
I'm living in the city and spend a lot of my time in the country. That's it. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
Mind you, but some would say Adelaide is still the country, don't they?
Country town, yeah. Yeah, probably. It's not that small, though.
No.
It's quite big. So we're growing and growing. So when you're thinking about carbon, the way you're doing it with the farmers, what do you think about the future? Are us people like normal who's not farmers? Can we do something to make this place a better place when it comes to this subject?
Well, I think absolutely we can, but it's about being, to me, awareness and consciousness builds action. So to me, I'd encourage your listeners to just go and learn a bit. I'm not a greenie. I'm not someone that does all that, but I think it's about how do we leave the planet better for our children and our children's children. And, people say to me, Australia is a very small emitter in the scheme of the global thing. Why are we worrying about it? And someone reminded me the other day of the story of the starfish that had all kind of come up on the shoreline, and someone was walking along picking up a starfish and throwing him back in. There was thousands and thousands of starfish, and they said, well, how are you ever going to make a difference? And he picked up the next starfish and threw it back in and said, it made us difference to that one. So I think sometimes we look too globally instead of just realising it's the small steps that we can all make as individuals that can start a movement. So I often say to my staff, I said, it's a bit like starting the Mexican wave at the MCG. Someone's first got to stand up, starts with one, and then it gets going. So so I think we can all just be conscious of it. I'm not telling people what to do or how to do it. It's just being conscious, and people will make their own decisions. We're all very mature and intelligent beings, unfortunately, aren't we?
Yeah. But as you say, I mean, if we understand it better, we probably can understand what we can do as well. Even if it's a little bit, if everybody do a little bit, it becomes a lot, doesn't it?
Correct. Yeah. But all of life's like that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Helen Keller said, alone we do so little, together we do so much.
True. It's true.
That's always had a big impact on me, that it's not what you can do on your own. It's about how you can get others to join in and do that, and how you can influence that, and how you can actually make a difference to what's happening at a much larger level. And I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely. I love your sharing here, Matt. So we're getting to the end of this, but I'm just going to ask, is there anything else you want to share with the listeners?
Oh, I think I've shared just about everything. I think there's a few little quotes that I've got that I'd like to share with the listeners. And so when I was about 13 or 14, I just happened to open a book one day, and it said, I'll do today what others won't, so I'll do tomorrow what others can't. And I can remember at a very young age going down to the local engraver, and I got that engraved on a little plaque, and I stuck it above the toilet in the bathroom, so that I always looked at, I will do today what others won't, so I can do tomorrow what others can't. And I think that's really important. It's a bit like the saying, isn't it? If it's to be, it's up to me. So that's one that I think had a huge impact on my life. The other one that I'd like to share with people is perhaps the biggest passion that I live my life with. And to me, it's about, if there's faith in the future, there's power in the present. And I think that's one of the things that's lacking. Everyone's so much living in a world of technology and Facebook and social media and all sorts of things. Just set some goals, have a bit of vision, create your own, write some stuff down, even if you don't necessarily believe it, because it's quite fascinating that once you actually start to do that, it'll have a big impact. And so I just encourage people to do that. And I think in this world of social media and living in the, sort of nanosecond of everyone expecting a response immediately, take time out, turn technology off, sit down, have a think about, who do I want to be? What do I want to, what does life look like in the next few years? And even for young children and kids and, young adolescent people, sit down and have a bit of a think about it. Take some time to think, turn off the technology and just say, what's my path and what difference can I make? So that's kind of my closing bit, is that just take some time and have a bit of a think about it and write down, what do I want to do, be and have, and what does that look like, and what do I need to do to make that happen? Because, come back to my statement before, alone we do so little, together we do so much. And one person with a vision can actually start a Mexican wave at the MCG, and that's what we need.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Yeah, I totally agree. All right,
Mm.
listeners, all the listeners know the drill, which is that you will, after this show, your details, whatever you like to share, will be up on the Facebook page, which is the Diva Vacation Radio 97.7 FM. And I really encourage listeners, if you want to connect with Matt in one way or another, please do so. As we know, you never know where a connection can lead. So thank you so much, Matt. I really, really appreciate your time and also your patience for us to do this because we're both busy. But it all came together at the end. So thank you so, so much for this, Matt.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend some time with you and see you again. Thank you.
No worries.